Have you ever watched Fight Club? If so, did you understand what the film is trying to convey on a deeper level? In this video, I will explain the psychology of Fight Club in detail. Have you ever felt lost in the chaos of modern society? And what about that voice inside you that wants to break all the rules and expectations? That voice might be what Freud referred to as the inner drive, your primal instincts. Today, we're going to examine the main narrator of Fight Club and his alter ego, the charismatic and chaotic character Tyler Durden, placed through the lens of Freud's psychoanalytic theories. Tyler embodies all the suppressed desires of the narrator, making him a living example of Freud's theories. Ready? Let's dive together into the depths of the unconscious mind. First, we need to explain Freud's concepts of the inner drive, ego, and superego to understand our characters. In the movie, Tyler Durden represents the inner drive. The inner drive is the component that controls a person's instinctual drives and natural desires. Tyler is portrayed as a rebellious and free-spirited character. His actions are driven by the satisfaction of instinctual urges and the fulfillment of needs. Think of the fight scenes and his radical stance against consumer culture. Tyler is a powerful expression of the narrator's inner desires. The main character, the narrator, represents the ego. The ego is based on the reality principle and works to balance internal conflicts. This character, who struggles with stress at work and seeks order and control in his routine life, is constantly at odds with Tyler's radical suggestions and rebellious behavior. The superego is an internal guide made up of moral values, societal norms, and ideals that a person has internalized. It's the inner judgment system that helps a person decide what's right and wrong and act according to socially accepted norms. In Fight Club, the narrator's inner voice represents the superego. He shows inner questioning and moral reflexes when confronting Tyler Durden's radical ideas and criticizing consumer culture. Film 4, these situations demonstrate the influence of the superego and how internal values are reflected. Now, let's examine some scenes from the film together. Our main character doesn't have a name. We refer to him as the narrator. The narrator has sleep problems. He lives a pretty chaotic life. And if you ask me, he's quite dissatisfied. He's lacking in self-confidence and even unable to stand up for himself. And the worst part is, he's aware of all of this. Let's take a look at the scene where the narrator meets Tyler. The narrator, suffering from insomnia, wakes up on a plane and Tyler is beside him. As you know, Tyler represents the narrator's primal instincts, his inner drive. I think every man has a voice like this inside. Now let's examine this strange dialogue between the narrator and his inner voice. From the very first scenes, it seems like the narrator is telling us something about his self-confidence. He refuses Tyler's offer to take the emergency exit seat on the plane, saying he's not fit for the job. And then look at Tyler, a man who can handle anything when needed, with all the qualities a man would want. Handsome, confident, and with a muscular physique. Later, the narrator gets off the plane and returns home only to find his house in flames. The narrator's inner conflicts and primal urges have become so difficult to suppress that he creates an alter ego to blame. An alter ego he can easily accuse. This man who burned his own house has unleashed all his repressed desires. It's no surprise that such intense suppression leads to destructive outcomes. This man, whose ultimate plan is to destroy the city, has reached a point where his repressions have become severe. In the following scene, the inner conflict fully kicks in, and Tyler, the narrator's alter ego, is ready to do whatever it takes to take control. After the fire, the narrator calls Tyler and sits with him at a bar to talk about everything that happened. On one hand, you have a man explaining how he wasn't responsible for the fire and how sorry he is, and on the other, a man who speaks as if he enjoyed the whole thing. It's as if Tyler really wanted this fire. And in our next scene, the primal urges can no longer be contained, that first fight scene. Tyler asks the narrator for a favor, to hit him with all his might. Across the universe, among all living things, physical strength and primal instincts are a way of life, especially for males. This strength and these urges are much stronger than in women. And over centuries, this strength has become something that needs to be suppressed, turning into a mental struggle. 3 centuries ago, when 2 men fought, it wasn't likely that one would have a criminal record, go to jail, or be socially ostracized. But now, we must control these urges, and perhaps the best way to do so is through sublimation. In psychological terms, sublimation means channeling our basic urges and desires into something constructive and beneficial. For example, a man with anger issues becoming a boxer, or a depressed person channeling their conflicts into art. We can't just do whatever we want whenever we want anymore. There are serious consequences now, and this battle doesn't always end with sublimation. Now back to our movie. Tyler is a completely impulsive man. When he's bored, he fights. He does whatever he feels like in the moment. He might steal or even do something as outrageous as tampering with a restaurant's soup. Now let's take a look at a significant conversation between the narrator and Tyler. The narrator says that if he had to choose someone to fight, it would be his boss. The boss can be seen as a father figure, an authority figure. At home, the father is the authority for the child. The father scolds the child who doesn't do their duties, just like a boss. After giving this answer, the narrator asks the same question to Tyler. Tyler's answer is purely instinctual and primal. I'd fight my father. The narrator's answer is actually the same as Tyler's, just more repressed. We'll come back to this father issue in a bit. As the film progresses, the narrator starts to release his primal urges, engaging in fights and doing whatever he wants. He no longer has sleep problems. He feels great. At work, he becomes rebellious and develops a carefree attitude. The narrator is gradually turning into an animal. Fight Club is now officially active. There's another conversation between the two that we need to pay attention to. In this scene, while burning the narrator's hand with a chemical substance, Tyler talks about pain and makes a comparison to God while discussing the father figure, saying he needs to kill him. For a man, building self-confidence starts with the series of events during childhood, particularly the secure relationship with the father. A man who cannot establish a good relationship with his father is unlikely to be confident, assertive, and stable. In this scene, what Tyler is saying is clear. The father, who was once a godlike figure for the son, gradually loses his charisma and begins to show weaknesses. If you have a neglectful father, you're more likely to become insecure, introverted, and emotional. Tyler's message here is that by killing our father and experiencing real pain, we can finally become real men. You're 30 years old, buddy, and still weak enough to rely on your father. Unleash your instincts and finally become a real animal. Now let's watch Tyler's legendary speech. I see the strongest and smartest men who've ever lived. I see all this potential, and I see it squandered. Damn it! An entire generation pumping gas, waiting tables, or enslaved by white-collar jobs, chasing cars and clothes, working jobs we hate to buy things we don't need. We're the middle children of history. No purpose or place. We have no Great War, no Great Depression. Our Great War is a spiritual war. Our Great Depression is our lives. We've all been raised on television to believe that one day we'd all be millionaires and movie gods and rock stars. But we won't. And we're slowly learning that fact. And we're very, very pissed off. Tyler starts by talking about the potential in everyone there. Then he goes on to discuss how we've weakened by rejecting primal lives and masculine instincts to pursue modern lives and simple goods. We're the middle children of history. We have no purpose, no place. We haven't lived through a great war. There's no longer a place where we can satisfy our masculine sides. The problem now is the extinction of the man within us. Tyler is saying that our dreams have become monotonous characters sold on TV. He's pointing out that the only dream we have left is to be someone famous, and we've all been lulled to sleep by that dream. But the chances of becoming that person are 1 in a million. So what happens to everyone else? What happens to those who can't become that highly desired famous man with money and all the women on TV desire? If your dream doesn't go beyond that, you feel like there's no other option but to fade away in a corner. You need to change your perspective and follow in your ancestors' footsteps. For Tyler, that's all there is to it. Now I'll pause here to share some of my own thoughts. For centuries, in this world where billions of people have come and gone, the roles of men and women were always clear. Men once had the duty of bringing food home, later transitioning to paying rent and creating a safe space for their wives. Today, in Western societies, the roles of men have started to change. More women are emerging who want to share these responsibilities, and they now demand the right to have jobs and achieve freedom. I believe all of this is a natural progression. If you enjoyed the video, you can support me by liking it and subscribing to the channel. I'm also very interested in your thoughts about the video, so please feel free to share your opinions.